Okay, so we all know that right now, Amazon and Starbucks workers are on strike. For those of you who don't know, this happened last week where a lot of these workers were on the fence protesting, striking, and definitely making their voices heard. And a recent video has come out when this happened on December 21st. I want to give a huge shout out to Hotspot for actually filming or for actually getting this video and sharing it on social media. But Amazon floods a public road in order to stop union workers from picketing. Oh boy. Especially during this cold time. That's really not cool. And perhaps maybe there was an accident. Maybe I'm being too generous here, but it just seems oddly suspicious with a protest happening from the warehouse that the water just gets turned on. Sorry, I got a copy to mute it because of music playing in the background. But, why is the water out there? How odd that the water is out there. Isn't that shocking that the water is out there? Why is the water out there? And what's going on? It says a lot. It says a lot indeed. But I also want to pull up this video here. Shot the Case Study QB. This video just came out on the 20th where MSNBC is covering it.
And lastly, some labor news. More than 11,000 Starbucks baristas are set to strike this morning. Also, Amazon workers in 4 states doing the same right before the holidays. What's the latest?
Yeah, so not very good news, really, as we approach Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Let me give you the rundown here, because there's indeed 2 different stories. We heard from Amazon. We know that workers were striking in New York, Georgia, California, and Illinois as well on Thursday. However, it's unclear how this could impact consumers, because a lot of Amazon workers are actually not part of a union. So let's see how this will actually evolve. When you think about Starbucks, on the other hand, indeed, we have a union representing more than 11,000 workers saying that they will be holding a strike for 5 days. So you might not be able to get your usual Starbucks over the Christmas period, but let's see how this will unfold. There's still a couple of days that there could see a little bit of a compromise. We'll see.
All right. CNBC's Sylvia Amaro live from London. Have a good weekend. Thank you as
So the protests have been going on for these past couple of days, and these are where workers are just asking for fair treatment. These workers are asking to be given some dignity, respect, because how many times we've covered stories where Amazon wellness centers, Amazon warehouses, are constantly treating their workers like crap. Now, to do the work that they're doing requires a lot of manual labor. To do the work they're doing, they're given a lot of insane hours and quotas to meet up with. Now, every job has its moments of difficulty. But since we've been doing Hard Lens Media, we've been covering stories such as the crisis that's happening in a lot of these Amazon centers. It's clear that their voices are still not being heard. If one would say that the progressive Democrats that are currently in Washington, D.C. would maybe get more involved, but we're not seeing that. Well, what is interesting to see is how Fox News chose to cover it, asking if Trump is pro-union. Okay. Brace yourself.
Today, getting that last-minute gift may be tricky as the Teamsters Union expands its strike against Amazon. And they're not alone. Starbucks baristas also ramping up their strike as unions gear up to test President-elect Trump. Our next guest warns this could only backfire. Trump economic advisor Stephen Moore is here to explain. Good morning, Mr. Moore. And the first question would be, what is the actual impact of the Amazon strike or the Starbucks strike to people watching?
Well, Peter, good to be with you. Merry Christmas. Look, it's obvious that these workers are striking now to cause maximum disruption. I mean, Santa Claus is coming in a few days, and those packages have to arrive on time. I've got 4 that I just sent out on Amazon, so I certainly hope that they arrive on time. But I got to tell you, Peter, right now today in America, only 6% of private sector workers are unionized. So unions are pretty much yesterday. They're passé, especially in the private sector. The workers certainly have a grievance, and that grievance is that for the last 4 years under Joe Biden, inflation has been so high, Peter, that wages and salaries for workers like Starbucks workers, like workers at Amazon and all over the country, their wages have not kept pace. And that's one of the reasons people voted out Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because the inflation has been so high. And I'm here to tell the workers that are, going on strike, wait a minute, just stick around. Donald Trump is coming in a month. And Donald Trump is going to get rid of inflation. He's going to provide higher wages for workers. When Trump was president in his first term, we saw huge advances for American workers. So I hope these strikes don't disrupt people's Christmas season, because
chances are they will. Chances are these strikes will cause a lot of disruption because, well, people are being screwed over right now. All right. And when workers still don't have enough money to make ends meet, I mean, it's clear that there something has to give. People do deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, healthcare, insurance, all that kind of good stuff, making sure they have enough for retirement, because who knows if people can ever be homeowners or retire in a country. I mean, heaven forbid, the whole idea of being a Walmart greeter continues on even long after we're gone. I mean, nothing breaks my heart more. And look, I'm all for seeing people work. I'm all, if it brings them joy, so be it. But we've seen our fair share of depressing stories where somebody in their 80s and 90s goes back in the workforce because the retirement doesn't meet, or something horrible happens and they're reduced to being a Walmart greeter. Okay. And we've seen those stories, and corporate media likes to promote those as feel-good stories. But I think when you're in your 80s and 90s, you've lived a very long life. You made it to the end. A lot of people don't have that privilege. A lot of people don't. I think you deserve peace, dignity, respect before you leave. Okay. It shouldn't be working a 9-to-5 job. Unless that's something you want to do, fine, to each their own. But dignity is the watchword. And that's what these people right now in Amazon are doing. The Starbucks workers, that's what they're doing. To get their fair share of dignity. Because when they get old, don't they deserve peace with their family and friends? I think the answer is yes.
I do think it could backfire on them. If you're going to win one of these labor disputes, you have to have the public behind you.
And according to Axios, the line is Trump 2.0 looks a lot more pro-union than 1.0. Is that right?
Well, I would put it a little differently. I'd say that Trump is pro-worker. Look, there's a big...
Do you think Trump is pro-worker? Let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 for, oh yeah, baby. Type 2, no politician is pro-worker. They just say words that they want people to hear, and then they move on.
Difference between unions and what's good for unions and what's good for workers. Oftentimes we see big unions doing things that are the opposite of what is in the interest of workers. In fact, a lot of the major unions endorsed Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, when in fact it was Trump who was the one who was most beneficial to worker rights. So we will see what happens. Look, the workers, this is America. Workers have a right to go on strike if they want to. But I do worry. I would be worried if I were these Amazon. And by the way, Amazon is a good employer. That's the other thing. If you turn your control over to union, they're going to take union dues right out of your paycheck, Peter.
But it's okay to trust a corporation here too. Yes, it is important to bring up the fact that union leaders have, on the horrific times, sold out their union membership. I mean, come on. We've seen these stories. We've seen how union leadership would endorse corporate Democrat candidates. We saw that in 2016 and 2020 primaries. But the corporations must be trusted. Trust the corporation. Trust Omnicorp, the corporation that has your best interests at heart.
Suddenly, the incoming president seems to have a much better understanding of the working class, maybe than he did last time.
Right.
Maybe it's because, unlike last time, he recently worked at McDonald's.
Well, that is true. I don't know if he had the union card there, but you're exactly right. This is a guy who gets middle-class America. If you look at what happened in the election, there's no question about it that it was the middle class, it was the working class, Peter, that voted en masse for the first time for a Republican president in Donald Trump. So he knows who brought him to the White House, and he's going to be very attentive to making sure American workers get a better deal.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Wait, hold on. Say that again the way you said thank you.
Get a better deal.
Thank you, Steve.
Wait, say it again.
And workers get a better deal.
Thank you, Steve.
That was a really weird way to say thank you. Happy holidays. More awkward moments from corporate media. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. So, what can we take away from the Amazon strikers right now, especially knowing full well that this is going to be carrying up until Christmas? Well, the only way you're going to be doing things right now, the only way things can actually happen where change can make an impact is if, you make it a front and center issue. You have to disrupt, you have to cause a scene, and you have to make sure that people understand why you're making this happen. I want to pull up and also acknowledge what's happening with the Starbucks workers because we cannot forget them and the work that they're doing. Okay. So first of all, this is an article here from Common Dreams. Let's go acknowledge it here. First of all, Starbucks workers launched 5 days of escalating strikes across the United States on Friday, accusing the coffee giant of reneging on its commitment to engage in productive bargaining talks with the union that now represents more than 11,000 baristas at over 500 stores nationwide. The walkout start in Los Angeles, my hometown, the city of Chicago, and Seattle on Friday before expanding coast to coast amid the holiday rush. Starbucks Workers United, SBWU, stated in a statement announcing the strikes. SBWU said strikes are a response to Starbucks, backtracking on our promised path forward. In February, the two sides agreed to begin discussions on a foundational framework designed to achieve both collective bargaining agreements for represented stores and partners. But SBWU Thursday that the company, which repeatedly violated labor law in its bid to crush a union movement that spread widely since 2021, has yet to present workers with a serious economic proposal. This week, less than 2 weeks before their end-of-year deadline, SBW said Starbucks proposed no immediate wage increase for union baristas and a guarantee of only 1.5% wage increases in future years. The strikes are expected to ramp up daily through Christmas Eve unless Starbucks honors our commitment to work towards a foundational framework. Striking baristas are also asking allies to help boost their organizing efforts at Starbucks by hosting small flyer events at not yet union stores during the 5 days of walkouts. Now, I think it has to be more than just 5 days. There has to be now more initiative. You could strike, but will members of Congress react? Will politicians react? And the thing is, no, it won't. Now, I've given this advice to a couple other groups that are trying to do some effective change or preparing for the 2026 midterm election cycle. I know. We're still far from it, okay? And here's hoping that 2025 just takes its nice, slow pace. It's very peaceful. But now's the time to start building frameworks, organizations, and structures in order to make that midterm election cycle more about organizing, fighting for state rights, and worker rights. This is where we have to start stepping up, and each of you in your own right as well, start maybe leading your organizational change to make sure everyone gets a fair deal. You can rely on a protest, and I get it, a strike too, but I think it's fair enough to assume that more needs to be done so that effective change can take place. And yes, making it happen during a holiday or a key holiday event is important. It brings more awareness from the media. But this is where these organizations have to start going also onto independent media, reaching out to groups and organizations that can bring more awareness to the plight that's facing these workers, their stories. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of them have stories that you've heard before. I'm doing this job to make ends meet. I'm doing this so I can have health insurance. I'm doing this so I don't get evicted from my home. I'm doing this job plus 3 others just so I don't starve to death. There's a problem here. And all the problems that we've seen in 2024 are going to follow us in 2025. And the way there's a wealth gap between those that have everything and those who have nothing will continue to widen until we say enough. So for this holiday season, raise a little fist in the air for the workers that are striking right now. They're doing this, well, each of us know that there's a bigger problem. The wage gap has gone too far. People don't have health insurance. People cannot retire with dignity. And I'll be damned if even if I reach that old age, we still have that same horrific scene of a Walmart greeter, okay? Now look, I want to be clear on that. If that brings somebody joy, all right. But no one in their 80s should go back to work. No one who's working right now should have the panic in their stomach of wondering, will I make it this month? That's not how it should be. We all deserve respect.